opacity of the cloud image to blend it in with the basketball player. So I'm going to navigate to the cloud image that I've created, and I'm going to move this panel across to the right, and I'm going to make sure I've got the selection tool selected, and then I'm going to bring in the cloud image to the main composition there. Let's close this panel down, and I'm going to hold down the Command or Control T to open the transform option. Hold down the Shift key to make sure that we've got the ability to resize it in proportion. If not, then the image won't resize accurately. So let's hold down the Shift key. Let's resize that, and let's put that in the middle. Let's centralize it like that. Okay. Now what we need to do is, first of all, let's name our layer Cloud 1, and let's change the shadowing of the image by opening up the levels panel, which we can do using Command or Control L, or simply go to Image Adjustments and Levels. Now there are two ways to adjust the overall shadows and highlights of the image that I normally go for. Now one is using the levels panel, and the other one is using the curves option, which is basically the same as levels in terms of its output, but it's probably slightly more accurate. But I do prefer to use the levels panel, as it's more straightforward using the sliders. So if we go back to our levels panel and we drag the left slider down, as you can see there, it's darkening the edges of the image. Let's bring down the mids of the image as well, right down to about there. Let's press OK. Now let's bring the opacity of the image down to about 50%. That looks good. And I also like to create a mask around the background image, just to paint out some of the edges. So if I go to the mask option, let's tick that. Make sure we have a brush selected. If we open our brushes panel here, let's make sure we've got the default airbrush selected, and let's make sure that it has the transfer option on, just to give us that nice smooth transition there with the brush. So if your colors are not set to black and white, just press D to reset your colors, D for default, and then you can use this option here to navigate between the background and foreground colors. Let's make sure that black is selected, choose the brush, make sure the opacity is about 60%, and let's just paint away on the edges of the clouds here, just to create a circular central focus point with the clouds. Just keep painting around. If it's too strong, you can bring the opacity down, or if it's not strong enough, you can bring it up, and just continue to paint away what we don't want, like that. Okay, press the V tool, or you can choose the option here to go back to the main selection. And what I'd like to do is also bring down some of, or take out some of the color on the background, because we've got some blue here. Now let's make sure that when we do change the color or edit the image in that way, that the main image is selected and not the mask, because quite often the mask can be selected, and as we try to edit the colors or whatever else it is that you do, you'll find nothing happens because you haven't got the right option or part of the image selected. So let's make sure that the main image is selected, go to Image Adjustments, Hue Saturation, or as I prefer to do it, Command or Control U to save time. Let's bring down the saturation of the image. As you can see here on the slider, as I bring it down, it's taking out the colour. So I'm going to bring it down slightly to about there, which is good. Let's bring it down slightly. I'm trying to leave a hint of blue in the image. My goal isn't to make it completely grayscale. Let's leave it about there, and that's good. And let's zoom in slightly. That's absolutely fine. So there we have our background image, and we've played with the opacity, the levels, and the saturation. What I'd like to do in the next lesson is to demonstrate how we can take a selection from the original wallpaper image that I've created and bring the clouds into the foreground so that it merges with the basketball player and creates more of a sense of depth with the main